All right, going to check out the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus in 30 Super Carry. Previously tested this in 9mm just a few months ago. I'll put a link in the description to that video if you want to check that out. But this one is in 30 Super Carry, as I mentioned. I've actually really been wanting to get one of these. A lot of people don't really like 30 Super Carry, or they don't see the point. I see comments constantly in other people's videos. What's the point? Just get a 9mm. So let me just straight off the bat tell you what the point is. The whole point is that you get basically 9mm performance, but you get a higher capacity, okay? So the Shield Plus in 9mm, the standard flush fit mag, I believe in 9, is 11 rounds. I'll put up a correction if I'm incorrect on that. As you can see there, 13 rounds with 30 Super Carry. And in 9mm, the longer mag here is 13 rounds, whereas you can see here with the 30 Super Carry, 16 rounds. So you get a whole extra 3 rounds of capacity with it being the exact same size. And you get 95% of the performance of 9mm, sometimes 100% of the performance. It just depends. Obviously, I got some self-defense geared ammo here to test out. I don't think I'll be shooting any of this in this video, but I will have gel tests coming up on this with Nox 10% ballistics gelatin. So as you can see, I got just about every current offering in 30 Super Carry there. But a lot of times these are 95% the performance of 9mm in terms of foot-pounds of energy. So it's really right there at the exact same power level as 9mm. Some of them are right there. You just have to look them up. But like, you know, basic mathematics, foot-pounds of energy, how fast is it going with how heavy of a bullet? You can see there the HTP advertised 100 grain at 1230 feet per second. Gold dot 115 grain. Not seeing an advertised velocity on that, but I'll throw it up. I got the punch in the HST. The punch is 103 grain, advertised 1130. 100 grain on the HST, advertised 1250. And the Hornady Critical Defense, 100 grain, advertised 1250. So you may have noticed on average the bullet weight is a little bit lighter than your standard 115 grain, 124 grain, even 147 grain is quite common in 9mm. I think, you know, general rule of thumb, most people are carrying 124 grain. So they're a little bit lighter bullets, but they're going a little bit faster. So it's about the same foot-pounds of energy. And like I said, some of them it's like 90%, 95%, but some of them it's actually matches 9mm. 100% on energy there. Obviously the only difference is a slightly smaller caliber, so it's a you know, I think it's actually like a 31. I'll look it up and throw it up on the screen here, but they call it a 30 Super Carry, but I believe it's actually slightly larger than that. So 9mm is 35 caliber, so it is just a little bit smaller diameter bullets there, which is why, you know, they're a little bit lighter, but you get a little higher velocity with it. So but anyways, I didn't necessarily want to make this video everything you need to know about 30 Super Carry, but that's kind of the whole point, guys. You get basically 9mm performance, 90-95% of it, depending on how you want to look at it. Wound cavities and gel might be a smidge smaller, but they're very close. Velocities, very close. You know, weight of bullet, very close. So very similar to 9mm. Just with that smaller diameter bullet, you get the extra capacity because it doesn't take up so much space in the magazines here. So that is the whole appeal of it to me, and honestly, that's the whole point of this cartridge. But anyways, we'll get to shooting here. Like I said, link in description to the 9mm version of this if you want to watch that review video. Obviously, we got a cold one out here today. It's low 30s and a little bit windy. So I got the Federal to try through it, Remington, Blazer. These are 100 grain, 115. All right, we'll start out with the Federal here first. There's a look for you. What they look like there, a little flat nose. This is the 15 round magazine right here, or excuse me, 16 round. I said 15 because I can only currently get 15 in it. That 16th one is real stubborn. It could be because it's cold out here and my fingers are cold, but I'm currently only able to get 15 in there. We'll dive into that more later. I might have to try to load it up once I get home and get my hands warm, see if I can get that 16th one in there. But currently have an issue getting that last 16th round in there, and I had no issue getting all 13 in the 13 round mag. But I'm just going to start out here about 5 or 6 yards on the target here. These are first shots. I have not shot this firearm yet, so these will be very first shots, and just going to start out 5 or 6 yards on that shoot and see where point of impact is. So this is the 10 round, why did I say 10? 13 round flush fit mag. All right, well, that recoil impulse was certainly interesting. It's like snappy, but lighter than 9mm. So looks like we're a little bit off to the left there. The sights are adjustable. Then obviously it's not a fantastic group for shots, and I'm just kind of winging them down here. All right, so you got your slide lock, slide release here. It is not ambi. It works pretty well, especially for a new pistol. I don't have any problem. I mean, obviously it takes some effort, but I don't have any problem using that to release the slide if I want. Other than my fingers really hurt and are really cold right now. This one is the model with the safety, but as far as having a safety on a gun, typically my carry guns, I just rely on the trigger safety, and I don't have a manual safety because I will never use it. But I really do like the manual safety on this. So with it on, it's very easy to catch your thumb on it and just flick it right back off, but it's not so easy to flick it on. So now it's not like super easy to where when you draw you have to worry about it flicking it off or anything like that. I'm just saying, compared to, I don't have to worry about accidentally hitting it and putting it on, you know, in a high stress situation, and then, oh crap, I got a dead trigger because my safety accidentally got kicked on. So it takes a purposeful motion to get it on there, because you don't, it's very smooth right here. There's not much of anything to catch on anything. So if it's on, it's because you put it on, and then there's enough hanging out there to where you can comfortably just reach up and flick it off. The grip on these things are awesome. I noticed on the back and the front, these little strips right here, and I don't know how that's focusing or how well you can see it in the lighting with the snow, but pretty aggressive texturing here, but even more so this little strip down the back and down the front there, which I really like. So you know, decent texturing on the side there. I would say mildly aggressive, and then pretty aggressive on these front and back strips here. There's your mag release. I think, yeah, you should be able to switch this to either side. Magazine's drop free. You got real good serrations on the rear here. Itty bitty little tiny serrations on the front. This model, I'm absolutely loving these night sights, and sorry if I'm not getting all this perfectly. I'm having a hard time seeing through the camera with all this white stuff everywhere, but love these night sights. It gives a much finer front blade and dot than the factory standard. Sorry, I didn't know if you guys could hear me there, because a lot of times when there's gunfire, the mic goes out. So I really like these night sights even during the daytime over the factory 3 white dot setup. So it's a lot more precise, I think. And of course these glow in the dark, and if I remember, I'll try to get an image or video of that real quick and throw it up to show you guys. But obviously green in the rear, orange in the front. Absolutely love these sights over the standard 3 white dot sights. Like I said, it's adjustable. You can just loosen it there, tap it either way. I may or may not do that since I'm slightly off to the left here today. I haven't decided yet, but you can adjust the windage with the rear sight there. I mean, you use the rear to do that, but obviously the front is driftable as well, or you can just, you know, tap them each out, or use a sight pusher if you want to swap out the sights. But these are the sights that I want on this, so there's no chance of that ever happening for me. Let's see what else. Obviously you got your trigger safety right there. Okay, you have to depress it so that you can pull the trigger. It works. And speaking of the trigger, take this mag out here. The trigger on this thing is excellent for a micro compact striker. Really liking this over something like a Glock or like the original M&P series. So there is very little discernible creep before the break. If you try really, really hard, pulling very, very slowly, you can find just a smidge of creep. So let me see if I can do that for you right here. So there's our take up, and I'll start pulling through slowly. Just the smallest amount of creep, and only if you're really, really looking for it. But most of the time, and especially while firing, there's no creep. It's just a clean, crisp break. And the weight on that, yeah, honestly, man, that feels like about a 4.5 pound trigger. So I love the trigger on this thing. Let's see what else. Am I missing anything? Obviously, there's your takedown lever. I think that covers most of it. Oh, this one's also optics ready. You can get them with or without night sights. Like I said, I love these freaking night sights over the 3 white dot standard sights. And this one's optics ready as well. And these things are on sale. They're heavily reduced everywhere because the 30 Super Carry cartridge, unfortunately, is not that popular. Like I said, most people just don't seem to get it. They're like, well, why bother? You know, the ammo costs almost twice as much as 9mm for the FMJ, which, by the way, it's only that practice stuff that's like $20 a box. The self-defense rounds are almost the same price as 9mm. But a lot of people don't get it because the ammo costs more. So, like, why wouldn't I just run 9mm? Well, again, as I extensively covered in the beginning of the video, the whole point of this cartridge is that you get extra capacity. So, and 16 plus 1 and something this small and a little micro 9 is freaking awesome. Plus, like I said, I'm loving the fact that it has less recoil too. It's like snappy, but it's definitely less recoil than a 9mm, as it should be, because you got lighter bullets. So anyways, let's get back to shooting. So that was the flush fit 13 round mag. Now we'll switch over to the 16 round, which, again, remember, I was only able to get 15 in there with it being cold out here and my fingers hurting. So again, I'll probably try that at home once I'm warmed up, see if I can get that 16th one in there. For now, I'm not going to mess with the sights unless it causes me any issues out here. So we'll start knocking some of the steel down now. I think I was overcompensating on some of those, aiming too far right, trying to make up for the fact that it's left. But, you know, it's honestly only an inch off to the left. So I think I'm screwing myself up more trying to overcompensate here for that. So we'll just aim dead center. We might have a few hits slightly off to the left or just miss off to the left, but shouldn't be an issue if I just aim right at them. Like I said, obviously, the sight's fully adjustable, so I could fix that if I want. I'm just not too worried about it right now. But let me load up exactly 4 here and see if we can get, all right, I lied, I'm going to put 6 in here. See if we can get all 4 of those from back here. It's a laser rangefinder confirmed, 15 yards to that back row. And those are obviously headshot or smaller size targets. So we'll see if I can get them back here from 15 yards. All right, I nicked that little one on the first shot, and then the second one I pulled too high. Let me put one more in here and try to get it again. I'm just gonna hold 6 o'clock on it and see what happens. I mean, if that confuses you, because I said 6 o'clock and hit it, and some of these are low, I was probably honestly holding about an inch and a half under that top dot there, which is why most of those were going a little bit low. I was just holding a little low on it to make sure I could see that tiny dot. So, yeah, I mean, it pretty much puts it right on top of the front sight there at 15 yards. I gotta say, I'm loving this thing so far. 100% reliable, straight out of the box. Didn't even lubricate it. A lot of people hate that, but I do it as kind of like a torture test functionality to know if it'll let me down if it gets dry and dirty. So straight out of the box, no lube. and this thing is bone dry, and it's run all those, no issue. Like I said, I'm loving the slightly lighter recoil than 9mm, and she's freaking accurate. I love it so far. So those are all Federals. Let's try the UMC out, see how those run. All right, little update on the mags. Got them loaded up here with the UMC, which you can see looks pretty much identical to the Federal. Little flat nose. As you can see there, yep, I got 16 in this one. I failed it first. I will say they loaded much more easily this time around, now that they had been ran through the gun once, so that's good. They were pretty tight, so it was about twice as easy to load them this time, except for I still could not get that 16th round in there. So then I went to the 13 round mag, and I got caught on the 13 one too. I couldn't get the 13th in here, whereas the first time with the Federal I did. I was like, what the heck? So I gave it a few taps. Here, let me show you. A few taps on the bottom like this. My bullet's coming out there. And then on the back like this. So I tapped it on the bottom a few times like that, and on the back a few times like that, and then I got the 13th one in no problem. So then I tried that on the 16 rounder there, and then was finally able to get that 16th round in there, although it was still tight, but I finally got it. So you give them a little tap, should be able to get them in. And like I said, I'm out here, it's freaking cold, dry skin, my fingers hurt trying to smash these in here. So I'm sure if I had warm fingers it wouldn't be too difficult, but yeah, if you have issues getting them fully loaded, just tap on the bottom a couple times, tap the back against your palm hard a couple times. It kind of like jiggles them up in there and give you that extra 0.5 millimeter you need to get them in there. But with that, I'm going to run 16+1, so I'm going to chamber this round and put that full 16 round mag in there and make sure we don't have any feeding issues that way, as you would be carrying it 16+1. Just to show you, and also worth mentioning if I can get a focus, not sure what you guys can see, but you got that little top port there, loaded chamber indicator. There you can see it. So you can see the brass in there when you have one chambered. So again, I'm going 16+1 here. Camera's falling on me. Okay, I definitely need to adjust those sights, so that explains a little bit. So up there at 5 yards is only like an inch or two off to the left, but back here at I don't know, about 8 or 9, I got my rangefinder, but it's buried. We're several inches off to the left there, so that's crazy that I hit as many targets as I did, even though it's clearly off to the left. It's just exacerbated the further back you go. Because you can see those three right there, they're grouped nice and tight there, about 8-9 yards. But you know, I'm aiming here and they're clear over here, so that really speaks for the accuracy, considering I was able to hit as many as I did, even though it's several inches off to the left. And for what it's worth, those shots I did default to aiming back off to the right edge of the targets again, because I noticed I was missing a few. So I don't know, about halfway through, so that explains why at the end I was able to just hit them back to back to back, no problem, because I was aiming off to the right edge, so I was probably hitting the left side of them. Alright, it might be a little too far right now, but I managed with a little shim under this to use this awesome Glock sight pusher tool by XS Sights. They sent that out to me. Still really appreciate that. It's come in handy several times. So I got her pushed a little bit, and we'll recheck on the target here, and this time from a further distance from back here, like 10 yards, like I said, 8, 9, 10 yards. See if I got them lined up. It might be a little too far right now, but we'll see. If so, just go back the other way here. All right, I'm quitting there and locking that sucker down because I got it right where I need it. All right, let's try these Blazer brass now. Remember, the previous two were 100 grain. These are 115 grain, so I'll let you know if they have any more recoil. I did not notice a difference between the Federal and the Remington, which I shouldn't because they're both 100 grain, so this one might have a little more punch. All right, there's the Blazer brass. Flat nose again. They're just a little bit heavier at 115 grain. And once again, I could only get 15 in that last one. My fingers just keep getting worse and worse out here. Like, my thumb's really hurting. And I got halfway through this mag and started struggling. Whereas earlier when we first got here, I was not. So it's just, my hands are freezing out here. So that 16th round is a bit of a pain. So you might want to get a little mag assist loader for that if you're going to be doing a lot of target shooting with it. Because that 16 rounder is a pain with that last round there. So we only got 15 in it this time because my fingers are just too cold to get that last one in there. I'm going to check point of aim down there on that target. See if or point of impact rather. See if it shifted any switching to these 115 grain. I don't know, maybe slightly right now. Let me check on that left dot, fire a few more. I'm also, like I said, freezing out here, so not shooting too great right now. My hands are freezing. I actually gotta show you that. I'm pretty proud of that. Took a little more time taking those shots, squeezing through nice and slow. Even with freezing hands, I got well, almost 3 touching. 2 practically went through the same hole and 1 right there. So she might be a hair right, but whatever. It could just also be, again, my hands are freezing. So, you know, we took these 2 over here. It was dead on. I got 1 right in the bullseye, 1 high. And then, so I got 1 in the bullseye here and 2 just barely right. It's probably just me, honestly. Shouldn't really be much point of impact shift, you know, 8 or 9 yards. But even if it is slightly right, averaging slightly right, that's close enough for me. Yeah, I really like the 30 Super Carry. I mean, I love the Shield Plus. Like I said, I'm really loving these night sights over the standard 3-dot white that I used on the 9mm when I reviewed that. Again, link in the description for that. So I'm really loving these sights over the standard 3 white dot. Recoil seemed about the same with these 115s, maybe like, I don't know, 2% more, but it's still definitely less than 9mm. So that helps a lot. It's not quite as low as like 380, but it's definitely less recoil than 9mm. So that's another advantage to this cartridge. Not only you get the higher capacity, but I am at least noticing less recoil. I would say 15% less, probably, maybe a little more. Some people don't really notice the difference, but I'm certainly one of those people who do notice the difference. At less recoil in my hands than 9mm. I would say considerably less. Again, about 15-20%. All right, but to wrap up the shooting portion of this, I really wanted to go down to the rifle range and try to shoot this 50 yards. I'm sure I could hit that gong at 50 yards, no problem. But you see the snow, and pulling in here in the Eclipse on some, well, they're all seasons, but they're more summer tires than anything. It's just slipping and sliding all over the place. Rifle range is downhill. I'll probably never get out of there. So unfortunately, I can't do that today, but let's try end this on a little bit of rapid fire here. Less than ideal target down there, being freaking white blended into the snow, and being on the ground not ideal either, but let's give this a shot here. Give me something chest height up here and not blending in with the freaking snow, and I would have done even better. I can typically go a little faster than that even with a 9mm, but again, because it was blending in with the snow, that's about as fast as I could shoot and still actually see what I was shooting at because it's blending in down there. So I absolutely love it, guys. Like I said, I'm just overall I think the big part of it is the sights. I just picked this up and I handle it. I swear this feels different. Height, length, and width are all the same on the 9mm, but maybe the grip is ever so slightly different dimensions because of the smaller diameter cartridges. I could not find information on that, however, but it does feel different for some reason. Really love those night sights, like I said in the beginning, even just for shooting out here during the day. They just pick up better and they're sharper and more precise, at least for me, than the standard 3 white dots. So that's a big advantage there. I remember the 9 that I tried out, it had what I thought was an excellent trigger too, but this one almost feels like it's a little more crisp than on the 9mm. Now the weight's about the same, I think I said about 4.5 pounds, you know, in that review as well, and that's about what this feels like. But this one might be a hair more crisp. I mean, it'd just be the difference between one to the next coming off the assembly line. But I remember I did like the trigger on the 9mm version. I tried a lot too. So there's no real change there, but the biggest thing's got to be these sights, and then also the lower recoil, definitely helping out with transitions, getting back and forth from, you know, one target to the next. So if you do get one of these, regardless of what caliber you get, first of all, I would wholeheartedly suggest 30 Super Carry, as I have done here. I really hope you guys can hear me. I just cannot get a break between the gunshots today. Like I said, a lot of times if they're too close, the mic kind of like goes out when they start shooting, and then I have to like stop or you can't hear me. So apologies if you guys are having a hard time hearing me. So whether you get 9mm or 30 Super Carry, I'd really suggest 30 Super Carry for the reasons I mentioned. Like I said, extra capacity, that's never a bad thing. So that's why I will keep mine in 30 Super Carry, and why I wanted it specifically for that reason. Plus the 30 Super Carry, they're on sale freaking everywhere right now because nobody's buying them. Nobody wants a 30 Super Carry. But definitely recommend upgrading to the night sights there, because even during the daytime, I think most shooters will find that you're going to shoot better with these night sights. Just good contrast there, and then like I said, just more sharp, clearer, crisp image there, a little more precise than those 3 white dot sights. And then yeah, if you go with 30 Super Carry, not only are you getting the extra capacity, but I'm definitely noticing less recoil. That's one thing I really hoped I would notice, which I'm pretty in tune to stuff, so I figured I would notice anyways. But you know, I watched several reviews before getting mine here, and I'd seen some people who were like, oh yeah, it's a little less recoil than 9mm, and then other people would be like, oh yeah, it feels just like 9mm, there's no difference. But for me, in my hands, I am definitely noticing a difference in recoil. It's definitely less recoil than 9mm. So that's 2 excellent reasons to go with 30 Super Carry over 9mm. The only downside is the price of ammo. Like I said, the carry ammo, it's about the same price as 9mm, so there's really no difference there except for maybe a few dollars. But with the FMJs, it is almost twice as much for some reason. Doesn't really make any sense that the carry ammo is about the same price, but the FMJs currently where I'm at, they're running about, you know, 18, 19 a box, and 9mm like 11 or 12 a box. So that's really the only negative there. And like I said, performance about the same as 9mm too. You know, it's a little bit lighter bullet, but it's going a little faster, so your energy is about the same. You just have a slightly smaller diameter bullet, including when it's expanded. So like I said, I'll be having my own gel test coming up. I think I got 5 different variations of carry loads back there, so we'll see how they do. But that'll do it. I'm going to shut up here before I yammer on about it too much. If you guys want to get any of the products you see me using in any of my videos, like my target stand there, fell over targets I use, steel targets, way more, earmuffs, rangefinder, etc. Links in the description for all that. Again, if you want to see my review of the 9mm version of this, I'll put a link in the description to that video. Thanks for stopping by and checking this one out. Let me know your thoughts on 30 Super Carry in the comments below, and I hope to catch you on the next one.